I was standing in my own living room surrounded by 50 people when my stepson Tyler raised his champagne glass and made a toast that would change everything. The pre-wedding celebration was in full swing. Expensive catering I had paid for. Flowers I had arranged. Music playing through speakers I had bought. Everyone was laughing and talking, celebrating Tyler's upcoming marriage to Brooke. Tyler tapped his glass with a fork. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to face him. He smiled that confident smile he had perfected over the years. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," he began. His voice was steady and clear. "And I especially want to thank my father, who gave me everything I am today, who worked so hard to provide for me, who sacrificed everything so I could have the education and opportunities that brought me here." My husband Marcus stood beside him, chest swelling with pride. Tyler continued, "And I want to honor my real mother in heaven, whose memory will always be present at my wedding. She may not be here physically, but her love shaped who I am." He looked directly at me. His eyes were cold. "Some people think they can replace what's irreplaceable," he said slowly. "They can't. The greatest gift anyone could give me is to stop pretending." The room fell into uncomfortable silence. A few people glanced at me nervously. Most looked away. Marcus squeezed Tyler's shoulder proudly. He didn't correct him.
He didn't defend me.
He just smiled like Tyler had said something beautiful. I stood there frozen, champagne glass in my trembling hand. 15 years. 15 years of raising this boy, feeding him, paying for everything he needed, loving him even when he kept me at a distance. And this was how he saw me. An imposter. Someone pretending to be family. I forced my face into a smile. I lifted my glass. I took a long drink. No one in that room knew what I was planning. Not even me. Not yet. But something inside my chest cracked open in that moment. Something that had been holding everything together for far too long. 15 years earlier, I met Marcus at a grief support group in the basement of a community center. I was 2 years into widowhood. My first husband died suddenly from a heart attack at 41. The life insurance and his pension left me financially stable but emotionally shattered. I went to the group because my sister insisted I needed to talk to people who understood loss. Marcus was sitting across the circle looking lost and exhausted. He introduced himself hesitantly. His wife had died 9 months earlier from cancer. He had an 8-year-old son named Tyler who was struggling badly. Marcus worked as a graphic designer from home, but business was slow and medical bills were crushing him. After the meeting, we talked in the parking lot for an hour. He told me about Tyler refusing to eat, having nightmares, crying for his mother every night. Marcus didn't know how to help his son or himself. I told him about my own journey through grief. How it came in waves. How some days were harder than others. How eventually the pain became something you carried instead of something that carried you. We exchanged phone numbers. He called me 3 days later asking if I wanted to get coffee. 6 months later, we were dating seriously. Marcus seemed like a good man who had been broken by circumstances beyond his control. Tyler was a quiet, sad little boy who needed stability and care. I thought I could help heal them both. I thought my financial stability and emotional strength could give them the foundation they needed to rebuild. Marcus proposed on a rainy Saturday morning in my kitchen. "Tyler needs stability," he said, holding my hands. "You'd be so good for him. For us. I know it's fast, but I feel like this is right." I said yes. I believed in second chances. I believed in building new families from broken pieces. I had no idea what I was signing up for. The warning signs started early, but I convinced myself they were normal. Tyler refused to call me anything but Miss Vanessa. I suggested he could call me whatever felt comfortable, but Marcus said not to push. "He's still grieving. Give him time." Tyler kept his late mother's photos everywhere. His bedroom walls were covered with pictures of her. The bathroom had a framed photo on the counter. Even the kitchen had one on the refrigerator. I didn't mind the photos. His mother deserved to be remembered. But when I gently suggested adding one family photo of the 3 of us together, Tyler looked at me with cold eyes. "This is my family," he said, pointing at a photo of himself with his parents. "You're just here." Marcus overheard but said nothing. Later he told me to be patient. He doesn't mean it. He's just hurting. A month after the wedding, I was helping Tyler with his homework. He needed a form signed for a school trip. I noticed he had filled out the emergency contact section. Under mother, he had written deceased. Under guardian, he had written father only. I was sitting right there, living in the same house, making his meals, washing his clothes, helping with homework. But on paper, I didn't exist. I showed Marcus the form that night. He sighed heavily. It's technically accurate. His mother is deceased. I am his guardian. But I'm here too, I said quietly. I live here. I take care of him. Marcus pulled me into a hug. I know you do, and I appreciate it so much. But we can't force him to see you as a mother figure. That has to come naturally. Just keep being patient. So, I was patient. I told myself time would fix everything. That eventually Tyler would see how much I cared. That our relationship would grow into something real. I was wrong. For years later, Tyler was accepted into an expensive private high school. It was a huge achievement. The school had an excellent reputation and would give him opportunities his current public school couldn't offer. But the tuition was $18,000 per year. Marcus came to me one evening looking embarrassed and stressed. His graphic design business was barely breaking even. He had no savings, no way to pay for private school. I hate to ask this, he said, sitting across from me at our kitchen table. But is there any way we could borrow from your savings? Just temporarily. I'll pay back as soon as business picks up. I looked at the acceptance letter. Tyler was a smart kid. He deserved this opportunity. It's not a loan, I said. It's an investment in his future. Let me handle it. I wrote a check for $18,000 the next day. Then another one the following year. And the year after that. And the year after that. $72,000 total over 4 years. Tyler never thanked me. Not once. He thanked his father constantly for the sacrifice and hard work that made private school possible. At Tyler's high school graduation, there was a special ceremony where students could honor people who helped them succeed. Tyler stood at the microphone in his cap and gown and gave an emotional speech thanking his father. Dad, you sacrificed everything for my education, Tyler said, voice cracking. You worked so hard to give me this opportunity. I know it wasn't easy. I know you gave up things you wanted, so I could have this. I'll never forget what you did for me. I was sitting in the third row. I watched Marcus stand up and hug his son while everyone applauded. I clapped too. My hands hurt from clapping so hard. I smiled so wide my face ached. Inside, something small and painful twisted in my chest. But I told myself it didn't matter who got credit. What mattered was that Tyler had opportunities, that he was succeeding. I told myself love wasn't about recognition. It was about giving without expecting anything in return. I kept telling myself that for years. 2 years after Tyler started college, Marcus's business hit a serious crisis. Several major clients left for bigger firms. His income dropped by more than half almost overnight. He was panicking. The business was his identity. He had built it from nothing. Losing it would devastate him. One night, he came to me with spreadsheets and financial projections. I need an infusion of capital, or I'm going to lose everything. I've been to banks. My credit isn't good enough for a business loan. I looked at the numbers. He needed $45,000 to stabilize operations and retain his remaining clients. I had that money. It was part of my retirement account from my first husband's pension. Money I had planned to keep untouched until I actually retired. If I give you this, I said carefully, when do you think you can pay it back? Marcus grabbed my hands. As soon as things stabilize. I promise. This is temporary. I just need to get through this rough patch. You're saving my life, Vanessa. I liquidated part of my retirement account. The penalties and taxes cost me another $6,000. Total hit, $51,000. I wrote the check. Marcus kissed me. I'll never forget this. You're the reason I can keep going. The business stabilized. Barely. It never grew. It never became profitable enough to pay me back. Marcus always had an excuse. Slow month. Unexpected expense. Difficult client who didn't pay. A year later, I overheard Marcus on the phone with Tyler. They were discussing something about business challenges and finances. "I'm keeping the company afloat," Marcus said. "It's been incredibly hard, but I'm managing. I'm doing whatever it takes to keep things running." No mention of my money. No mention of the $51,000 that had saved his business. I stood in the doorway listening. Marcus saw me, but didn't change his story. He just smiled and kept talking. That was the first time I realized he was rewriting history, making himself the hero of every story. When Tyler got accepted to college, Marcus sat him down for a serious father-son talk. I was in the kitchen making dinner when I overheard the conversation in the living room. "Tyler, your mother set up an education fund before she died," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "She knew how important education was. She wanted to make sure you could go to the best school possible, no matter what happened to her." I stopped chopping vegetables. There was no education fund. Tyler's mother had died with medical debt, not savings. Tyler was crying. "Mom did that for me. She loved you so much," Marcus said. "She wanted you to have every opportunity. That's the kind of woman she was. Always thinking of you first." I walked into the living room. Marcus looked up at me. "Vanessa, and I will make sure you can use that fund. We'll handle all the details." Later that night, I confronted him in our bedroom. "There is no education fund. Why would you tell him that?" Marcus looked frustrated. I didn't want him to feel like he was accepting charity. It's better this way. It lets him feel like his mother is still taking care of him. "But I'm the one paying for college," I said. "Not your late wife."
Me.
"And you're doing a wonderful thing," Marcus said, pulling me close. "But Tyler doesn't need to know the logistics. It would just make him feel guilty and uncomfortable. Let him have this. Let him feel like his mother is still providing for him." I wanted to argue, but Marcus made it sound so reasonable, so kind, like I was being selfish by wanting acknowledgement. So I agreed. Again. I paid $160,000 for Tyler's college education over 4 years. Tuition, room and board,
Books.
a laptop, a car, spending money. Tyler called Marcus every week to thank him for managing the fund his mother left, to tell him how grateful he was for everything his parents had done for him. He never called me. Not once in 4 years. The house I inherited from my mother became another invisible gift. We had been living in a small rental apartment when Marcus started talking about buying a house. Something impressive. Something that showed he was successful. But he had no credit. No down payment. No way to qualify for a mortgage. One evening, he brought up the idea of buying together. It would be a family investment. Something we build together. What do you think? I took a deep breath. "Marcus, I already own a house. I inherited it from my mother 3 years before we met. I've been renting it out to cover the mortgage and taxes." His face fell. Visible disappointment crossed his features. "You own a house? Why didn't you ever mention that?" "It never came up," I said honestly. "It was my mother's. It felt separate from our life together." Marcus recovered quickly. "Well, that's actually perfect. We could move into it. Save money on rent. Build equity." The house was paid off. My mother had bought it outright years ago. I owned it free and clear. We moved in 2 months later. It was a beautiful 3-bedroom home in a good neighborhood. Big backyard. Updated kitchen. Hardwood floors. Within a week, Marcus was telling neighbors and friends that we had bought the house together. He redecorated the living room without asking me. He invited people over and gave tours like he owned the place. Tyler told his college friends his dad bought a house. Sent photos. Bragged about the neighborhood. I never corrected anyone. I told myself it didn't matter whose name was on the deed. We were married. We were a family. What was mine was ours. But deep down, I knew I was disappearing. Piece by piece, my contributions were being erased and reassigned to other people's narratives. And I was letting it happen. Tyler brought home his college girlfriend Brooke for Thanksgiving during his senior year. She was a sweet girl from a traditional family. Polite, well-mannered, completely unaware of the family dynamics she was walking into. At the door, Tyler introduced me as my dad's wife. Not his stepmother. Not Vanessa, who helped raise him. Just his dad's wife. Brooke smiled warmly. "It's so nice to meet you." Tyler talks about his dad all the time. During dinner, Brooke asked about family traditions. "Do you have any special recipes that have been passed down?" Tyler immediately jumped in. "My mom had this amazing stuffing recipe. She made it every Thanksgiving. It was the best thing ever. My dad still tries to recreate it, but it's never quite the same. I had cooked everything on the table. The turkey, the mashed potatoes, the green bean casserole, the cranberry sauce, even the stuffing from my grandmother's recipe." Marcus joined in the storytelling. "My late wife was an incredible cook. She puts so much love into every meal." Tyler's right. "I've tried to keep her traditions alive." Brooke looked at me kindly. "Do you cook too?" "Sometimes," I said quietly. After dinner, I was cleaning dishes in the kitchen when I heard Tyler and Brooke talking in his old bedroom upstairs. Their voices carried down through the vent. "Your stepmom seems really nice," Brooke said. Tyler laughed. "She tries too hard. She's fine, I guess. But my dad is the one who really takes care of everything. She just kind of exists here." Exists here. I scrubbed the roasting pan harder. My hands were shaking. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I had cooked for 3 days preparing this meal. I had cleaned the house. I had bought the groceries. I had set the table with my mother's china. And I just existed here. 6 months later, Tyler called Marcus with exciting news. He and Brooke were engaged. Marcus put the call on speaker so I could hear. Tyler was talking fast, excited and nervous. "Dad, I want to do this right. Big wedding. Brooke's family is traditional. They're expecting something really nice. I'm going to need your help." Marcus didn't hesitate. "Absolutely. Whatever you need, son. We'll make it happen." "I knew I could count on you," Tyler said, voice cracking with emotion. "You've always come through for me. I don't know what I'd do without you." After the call ended, Marcus was beaming. "Our boy is getting married." "That's wonderful," I said. And I meant it. Despite everything, I wanted Tyler to be happy. That night in bed, Marcus brought up the wedding costs. "Tyler's going to need help with the venue. Those things are expensive. I was thinking maybe you could contribute to the deposit as a wedding gift." I turned to face him in the dark. "How much are we talking about?" "Probably around $12,000 for the deposit. Maybe more depending on where they book." $12,000. On top of everything else I had already given. But this was Tyler's wedding. A major life event. How could I say no? "Okay," I agreed. "I'll cover the venue deposit." Marcus kissed my forehead. "Thank you. You're the best." The next morning, Marcus called Tyler back. I heard him from the kitchen. "Good news, son. I've got the venue covered. Don't worry about anything. Just focus on finding the perfect place. I'll handle the money." Tyler's excitement was audible through the phone. "Dad, you're amazing. Thank you so much. You've always been there for me. I'm so lucky to have you." Marcus looked at me and smiled, like he was sharing good news, like he was including me in the moment. But he had just taken credit for my money again, and I had let him, again. The venue deposit was only the beginning. Over the next few months, wedding expenses kept piling up. Flowers for the rehearsal dinner, $1,800. Catering for 50 people, $4,000. Rental tables and chairs, $900. Sound system, $600. Every time Marcus agreed to cover something, he called me afterward. "Is it okay if we pay for this? Tyler really wants it. Brooke's family is contributing so much. We should match their effort." I wrote check after check. My account balance dropped steadily. Brooke's mother called Marcus constantly to discuss details. She thanked him repeatedly for being so generous. When I offered suggestions during planning meetings, she directed her responses to Marcus, not me. It was like I was invisible. My money was flowing into this wedding, but my presence barely registered. One afternoon, I sat down with my banking statements and a calculator. For the first time in 15 years, I added up everything I had spent on Tyler. Private high school tuition, $72,000. College expenses, $160,000. Car purchase, $15,000. Apartment deposit and furniture when he moved off campus, $8,000. Wedding contributions so far, $18,000. Total, $273,000. I stared at the number for a long time. Over $250,000. On a stepson who wouldn't call me by my name. Who introduced me as his father's wife. Who told people I just existed in his life. I closed my laptop and sat in the quiet kitchen. Something was cracking inside me. Not anger yet. Just a slow, creeping awareness that I had been used for 15 years. And I had let it happen every single step of the way. The pre-wedding celebration happened on a Saturday evening 3 weeks before the wedding. Brooke's family wanted an engagement party, but Tyler suggested a rehearsal dinner preview at our house instead. A chance for both families to celebrate together before the big day. I spent 2 days preparing. I cleaned the entire house. I ordered flowers. I hired caterers. I set up the backyard with lights and decorations.
50 people came.
Brooke's parents, her siblings, extended family, Tyler's college friends,
Co-workers from his new job.
Everyone was dressed nicely, drinking champagne, eating expensive appetizers I had paid for, laughing and talking in my living room, on my furniture in my house. Marcus played the proud father. He shook hands and told stories about Tyler's childhood. He accepted compliments on the beautiful home. He soaked up praise for raising such a successful son. Around 8 o'clock, Tyler tapped his champagne glass with a fork. The room fell quiet. Everyone turned to look at him. He was standing in the center of the room, Brooke beside him holding his hand. His face was serious, emotional. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," Tyler began. His voice carried clearly through the room. "This means so much to us. Having everyone here, celebrating this next chapter of our lives." People smiled. Some raised their glasses. Tyler continued, "And I especially want to thank my father, who gave me everything I am today, who worked so hard to provide for me, who sacrificed everything so I could have the education and opportunities that brought me to this moment." Marcus stood straighter, his chest puffed with pride. He put his hand on Tyler's shoulder. "And I want to honor my real mother in heaven," Tyler said, his voice breaking slightly. "She may not be physically here, but her memory will always be present. Her love shaped who I am. She's the reason I know what real family means." My champagne glass was shaking in my hand. I gripped it tighter. Tyler looked directly at me. His eyes were cold and deliberate. "Some people think they can replace what's irreplaceable," he said clearly. "They can't. They shouldn't even try. The greatest gift anyone could give me is to stop pretending they're something they're not." The room went silent. Uncomfortable energy rippled through the crowd. A few people glanced at me nervously. Most looked away. Marcus squeezed Tyler's shoulder and smiled proudly. He didn't correct him. He didn't defend me. He didn't even look uncomfortable. Brooke raised her glass.
"To family," she said.
"To family," everyone echoed. I stood there frozen. 50 people in my house. Eating food I paid for. Drinking champagne I bought. Standing on floors I owned. And I had just been publicly erased. I forced my face into a smile. I lifted my glass. I drank. No one knew what was happening inside my head. Not even me. Not yet. But something fundamental had just broken. Something that had been holding me together through 15 years of invisibility. And I knew, in that moment, that I was done. After everyone left that night, I cleaned up the living room in silence. Marcus helped carry plates to the kitchen, but kept trying to make conversation. "That was a great party," he said. "Everyone had such a good time." Tyler and Brooke looked so happy. I didn't respond. I just kept stacking plates. Marcus stopped and looked at me. "Are you okay? You've been quiet since the toast." I set down the stack I was holding and turned to face him. Why didn't you defend me tonight? He looked confused. Defend you from what? Tyler's toast. The part where he basically told everyone I don't belong in this family. Where he said people should stop pretending to be something they're not. He was talking about me, Marcus. Everyone knew it. Marcus sighed. He was emotional. He was honoring his mother. He didn't mean it the way you're taking it. Then how did he mean it? He's stressed about the wedding. He's feeling sentimental. You're being too sensitive. Something inside me snapped. I've spent 15 years taking care of him, paying for everything he needed, and he just publicly humiliated me in my own house. Marcus held up his hands. Vanessa, please. Don't make this into a bigger thing than it is. Tyler loves you in his own way. He's just not good at showing it. Does he even know I paid for his education? Marcus went very still. What do you mean? Does Tyler know that the money for private school, for college, for his car, for everything, does he know it came from me? Or does he think it all came from you and his dead mother's imaginary fund? Marcus looked uncomfortable. He doesn't need to know the details. It would just make him feel like he owes you something, like he's a burden. So you've been lying to him for 15 years. I've been protecting him, Marcus said firmly. I've been letting him focus on his future instead of feeling guilty about money. That's what good parents do. I'm not his parent, remember? He made that very clear tonight. Marcus rubbed his face tiredly. Can we please not do this right now? It's late. Everyone's exhausted. Let's just go to bed and talk about this tomorrow. But I didn't want to wait until tomorrow. I went to our bedroom, shut the door, and opened my laptop. I pulled up my banking records and started downloading statements. Every transaction, every payment, 15 years of financial history. I created a folder on my desktop. I labeled it evidence. I didn't sleep that night. I just compiled documents until the sun came up. I spent the entire weekend organizing my evidence. Bank statements, canceled checks, tuition receipts, credit card statements showing purchases for Tyler's apartment, his car insurance, his textbooks. I created a spreadsheet with dates, amounts, and descriptions. I color-coded everything by category: education, housing, transportation, wedding expenses, business investment. The numbers were devastating. Even worse than I remembered. $273,000 in direct expenses. Another $51,000 in business investment that was never repaid. Total, $324,000. But the spreadsheet wasn't the most damning evidence. The most damning evidence was the house deed. I pulled it from my file cabinet and laid it on the desk. The property was in my name only, inherited from my mother 2 years before I met Marcus. Never refinanced, never transferred, completely and solely mine. Marcus had been living in my house for 12 years, telling people we bought it together, taking credit for providing a home for his son. But he had no legal claim to any of it. I also found the wedding venue contract. I had signed it. My name, my credit card on file. The $12,000 deposit came from my account. Marcus had told Tyler he would handle it, but I was the one who actually paid. Again. On Monday morning, I called a lawyer. Her name was Simone Chin. Wait, that's a forbidden name. Her name was Simone Brooks. She specialized in divorce and family law. I need to know my options, I told her over the phone. I want to understand what I'm entitled to and what my husband can claim. She scheduled me for a consultation that afternoon. Simone's office was professional and calm. She was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense manner. I handed her my folder of evidence. She spent 20 minutes reviewing everything in silence. Her expression grew darker with each page. Finally, she looked up. This is financial exploitation. Your husband has been using your assets and income while taking credit for providing. That's a form of emotional and economic abuse. The words hit me hard. Abuse. I had never thought of it that way. Simone continued. The house is solely yours. He has no claim to it. You can file for divorce citing fraud and emotional abuse. You can sell the house. You can immediately withdraw all financial support. And given this pattern of behavior, You have grounds for a very favorable settlement. What about Tyler? I asked. The wedding is in 3 weeks. Simone looked at me seriously. Tyler is an adult. You have no legal obligation to him whatsoever. Every dollar you've given him was voluntary. You can stop at any time for any reason. Can I cancel the venue reservation? It's in my name.
Yes.
You're the account holder. You can cancel whenever you want. There may be penalties, but that's your choice to make. I sat back in the leather chair. I had complete legal power. Marcus had been living on my generosity for 15 years while building a narrative that made him the hero. What do you want to do?
Simone asked.
I thought about Tyler's toast. About 15 years of being invisible. About being told I should stop pretending. I want to disappear, I said quietly, just like Tyler asked. The next morning, I called the wedding venue. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. Hello, this is Vanessa Quinn. I need to cancel the reservation for the Hartley Quinn wedding. There was a pause. I'm sorry, did you say cancel? The wedding is in less than 3 weeks.
Yes.
I understand there's a cancellation policy. I'll forfeit the deposit. I just need the reservation canceled immediately. The coordinator sounded confused. May I ask why? Is there a problem with the venue? Is the wedding postponed? There's been a change in family circumstances, I said calmly. Please confirm the cancellation in writing to my email. Of course. I'll send that right away. I'm so sorry this didn't work out. I hung up. My heart was pounding. I had just canceled my stepson's wedding venue 3 weeks before his wedding. I didn't tell Marcus. I didn't tell Tyler. I let the venue coordinator call them directly, like she said she would. I spent the rest of the day preparing the next steps. I called my bank and opened a new account that only I could access. I transferred most of my savings into it. I changed all my passwords. I contacted a realtor about listing the house. That evening, Marcus came home early from work. He looked panicked. Tyler had called him. The venue had called Tyler. The reservation was canceled. Vanessa, what happened? Marcus asked, his voice tight. Tyler is freaking out. The venue said you canceled everything. There must be some kind of mistake. Can you call them back? I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open. The divorce papers Simone had drafted were on the screen. It wasn't a mistake, I said calmly. I canceled it. Marcus stared at me. What do you mean you canceled it? Why would you do that? Because I'm no longer paying for Tyler's wedding. He made it very clear at the party that I'm not family. So I'm respecting his wishes. Vanessa, you can't just cancel the venue 3 weeks before the wedding. Do you know how that makes us look? Us. I turned the laptop screen toward him. There is no us, Marcus. Not anymore. He looked at the screen. His face went pale. Divorce papers? You've spent 15 years using my money while telling Tyler it came from you or his dead mother. You've let him treat me like I'm invisible. You've taken credit for every sacrifice I've made. I'm done. Marcus sat down heavily. This is insane. You're overreacting to one toast. Tyler didn't mean anything by it. I pulled up my spreadsheet. $324,000, Marcus. That's what I've spent on Tyler over 15 years. And he doesn't even know my money paid for any of it because you lied to him. Marcus's hands were shaking. I was trying to protect his relationship with his mother's memory. I was trying to keep the family together. You weren't keeping the family together. You were keeping your image intact. And I'm not participating anymore. I slid a printed copy of the divorce papers across the table. Sign these. Marcus refused to sign the divorce papers. He threatened to fight me for the house. He said I was being cruel and vindictive. I remained calm. I showed him the deed. This house is mine, Marcus. Inherited before we were married. You have no legal claim to it. His face crumbled. You can't just kick me out. I've lived here for 12 years. I'm not kicking you out. I'm selling the house. You have 60 days to find somewhere else to live. That's more than fair. What about Tyler's wedding? What about Brooke? You're going to ruin their special day over a toast. I'm not ruining anything. Tyler asked me to stop pretending. I'm just doing what he asked. He has his father. His father can figure out how to pay for the wedding. Marcus looked desperate. I don't have that kind of money.
You know that.
My business barely breaks even. Then you should have thought about that before you spent 15 years taking credit for mine. Over the next week, the house went on the market. The realtor said it would sell quickly, good neighborhood, well-maintained, priced competitively. Marcus moved into the guest bedroom. He called Tyler and tried to explain what was happening, but Tyler was too angry about the venue cancellation to listen. I began packing my things. Not everything.
Just what was truly mine.
My clothes, my books, my mother's dishes and photo albums. Personal items that had meaning before Marcus. Before I left, I prepared one more thing. A manila envelope. Inside, I put copies of every receipt, every bank statement, every check I had written for Tyler over 15 years. I organized it chronologically with highlighting and notes. And I wrote a letter. Simple, factual, no emotion, just truth. I placed the envelope on the kitchen counter, where Tyler would find it when he came to talk to his father about the wedding crisis. Then I moved into a temporary rental apartment and waited. Tyler called Marcus 2 days after I moved out. He was coming over to discuss the venue situation and figure out how to salvage the wedding. Marcus called me, panicked. Don't let Tyler see that letter.
Please.
I'll sign the divorce papers. I'll agree to everything. Just don't let him see that letter. It's too late, I said calmly. I mailed him a copy yesterday. The letter arrived at Tyler's apartment that afternoon. I know because Brooke called Marcus crying. Tyler had opened the envelope, read everything, and locked himself in their bedroom. The letter was short. Tyler, your father told you the money for your education came from a fund your mother set up before she died. That was a lie. Every tuition payment came from me. Every college expense came from me. Your car came from me. Your apartment deposit came from me. The venue deposit came from me. I paid $273,000 over 15 years because I thought love meant sacrifice. Your father took credit because he thought fatherhood meant providing, even when he wasn't. At your engagement party, you told me to stop pretending. You were right. I should have stopped pretending years ago. I hope your real family can cover what's left of the wedding expenses. Vanessa. The envelope also contained 15 years of receipts, bank statements, and canceled checks. Every single payment documented and highlighted. Tyler called Marcus that evening. I wasn't there, but Marcus told me later what happened. Tyler was hysterical. Is this true? Did Vanessa pay for everything? Marcus tried to explain. It's complicated, son. We were married. It was family money. We both contributed. You told me it was Mom's fund. You lied to me for 15 years. I was trying to honor your mother's memory. I didn't want you to feel like you owed Vanessa anything. So, you let me treat her like she was nothing? Like she didn't matter? Marcus had no answer for that. The wedding planning fell apart quickly. Without the original venue, Tyler and Brooke had to find an alternative with less than 3 weeks' notice. Everything available was either too expensive or too small or already booked. They settled on a community center. It was fine. Not what they had imagined, but functional. But there were other problems. Tyler had assumed his father would cover several major expenses because Marcus had promised he would. Now Marcus had to admit he didn't have the money. He couldn't pay for the rehearsal dinner. He couldn't pay for the photographer. He couldn't pay for half of what he had promised. Tyler had to take out a personal loan. $7,000 at a high interest rate just to cover the basics. Brooke's parents, who had been told they were marrying into a well-established family, were furious when they learned the truth. They had pledged $20,000 toward the wedding based on Marcus's assurances that he would match their contribution. When they realized Marcus was essentially bankrupt without me, they pulled $15,000 of their pledge. We were misled about the financial situation. Brooke's mother told her daughter, "We can't contribute at this level if we're carrying the entire burden." Tyler and Brooke fought. She blamed him for not knowing his own family's financial situation. He blamed his father for lying. Everyone was angry and stressed. The wedding happened, but it was tense and scaled down. The community center was decorated as well as possible, But it wasn't the elegant venue Brooke had dreamed of. Marcus attended, quiet and diminished. His confident father of the groom persona was gone. He looked older, tired. I wasn't there. I wasn't invited. But I heard about it from mutual acquaintances who attended. Brooke cried during the reception. Tyler looked stressed and unhappy. The whole event felt strained. The wedding they had imagined, funded by a generous, successful family, had collapsed the moment I stopped being invisible. The house sold 3 weeks after the wedding. I netted $340,000 after paying off the small remaining mortgage from my mother's original purchase. It was the largest check I had ever received. More money than I had spent on Tyler over 15 years. Enough to start completely over. I bought a small cottage on the coast. 2 bedrooms. Big windows overlooking the ocean. A porch where I could drink coffee and watch the sunrise. I paid cash. No mortgage. No debt. Just mine. I furnished it simply. New couch. New bed. New dishes. Everything clean and chosen by me alone. I got a job at a local design firm. Nothing high pressure. Just steady work that paid the bills and let me use my skills. I made new friends. People who didn't know my history. Who saw me as Vanessa, not as someone's wife or someone's stepmother. I started painting again, something I had loved before my first husband died, and had stopped doing somewhere along the way. My life became quiet. Peaceful.
Mine.
Marcus moved into a cramped rental apartment. His business collapsed 6 months later without my financial cushion. He was forced to close it and take a regular job for the first time in 20 years. Tyler and Brooke struggled with their loan payments. Their marriage was strained by financial stress and the revelation that Tyler's family situation had been built on lies. I blocked Marcus's number. I blocked Tyler's email. I cut all contact completely. 6 months after I moved, Tyler sent a message through a mutual friend. He wanted to talk. He wanted to explain. He said he understood now what I had done for him. I didn't respond. Understanding after the fact didn't interest me. A year after the wedding, Tyler reached out again. This time through email from a new address I hadn't blocked yet. The message wasn't an apology. It was a request. Vanessa, I know things ended badly. I know I didn't appreciate what you did.
But my dad is really struggling.
He lost his business. He's barely making ends meet. Is there any way you could reconsider helping him get back on his feet? Just a loan. He'd pay you back. I read the message twice. Then I deleted it. I blocked the new email address. Even now, they saw me as a resource. A source of money to solve their problems. Not as a person who deserved respect and acknowledgement. The apology I had waited 15 years for never came. Just another request for money. I never responded. I never looked back. 2 years after I left, I was sitting on my cottage porch watching the sunrise over the ocean. My coffee was hot. The air was salty and clean. Seagulls called in the distance. I thought about Tyler's toast sometimes. About being told to stop pretending. He was right. I had been pretending. Pretending that giving without acknowledgement was noble. Pretending that love meant accepting erasure. Pretending that family was worth any price. I had stopped pretending, and my life had become better in every way. I didn't hate Tyler. I didn't hate Marcus. I didn't spend my days thinking about revenge or hoping they suffered. I just didn't think about them at all anymore. They had asked me to disappear. I had granted their wish completely. And in my absence, they finally saw what I had been all along. Not a pretender, not an intruder, but the foundation that held everything together. When I removed myself, their carefully constructed narrative collapsed. Marcus's image as the providing father crumbled when people realized he couldn't actually provide. Tyler's gratitude to his father's sacrifices evaporated when he learned the sacrifices were mine. The greatest gift I gave them was exactly what they asked for. My absence. And the greatest gift I gave myself was walking away with my dignity intact. I finished my coffee and went inside to start my day. I had a client meeting at 10, lunch with a friend at noon, a painting class in the evening. My calendar was full of things I chose. My bank account was mine. My home was mine. My future was mine. I had spent 15 years making myself smaller so other people could feel bigger. I had paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for a place in a family that never wanted me there. And now I was free. Completely, entirely, beautifully free. Some people believe blood is thicker than water. I believe respect is thicker than both. And I finally had my own. People ask me sometimes if I feel guilty about what happened, about canceling the wedding venue, about selling the house, about cutting off all contact. I don't. Not even a little bit. I didn't ruin Tyler's wedding. I stopped funding it. There's a difference. I didn't destroy Marcus's business. I stopped subsidizing it. It collapsed under its own inability to be profitable. I didn't break up the family. I removed myself from a dynamic where I was used but not valued. Every consequence they faced was the direct result of their own choices and behavior. I just stopped protecting them from reality. For 15 years, I had been a silent safety net, catching them every time they fell, paying for every mistake, absorbing every cost. They never had to face the consequences of Marcus's failing business because I kept propping it up. Tyler never had to work his way through college because I paid for everything. Marcus never had to budget carefully because my money covered the gaps. When I removed the safety net, they fell. But that wasn't my fault. That was gravity. I had been told my whole life that good women sacrifice. That love means giving without keeping score. That family requires unconditional support. But no one ever told me that sacrifice without acknowledgement is just exploitation. That giving without reciprocity is enabling. That unconditional support becomes a weapon when the other person knows you'll accept any treatment. I learned those lessons too late, but I learned them completely. The truth about quiet revenge is that it doesn't feel like revenge at all. It feels like boundaries. I didn't plot elaborate schemes. I didn't destroy anyone's reputation. I didn't spread lies or seek to harm. I just stopped. Stopped paying. Stopped covering. Stopped enabling. Stopped accepting erasure. That was enough. Because the entire structure of Marcus and Tyler's life had been built on my invisible labor and my visible money. When I removed both, everything they had built collapsed. Tyler's image as the successful young man whose father gave him everything, gone when he learned the truth. Marcus's image as the hardworking provider, gone when his business failed without my support. Their ability to maintain their lifestyle, gone when the house sold and I left. I didn't destroy them. I just stopped holding them up. And they couldn't stand on their own. The revenge wasn't in anything I did to them. The revenge was in what happened when I simply did nothing. 3 years after I left, I ran into Brooke at a bookstore 2 towns over from where I lived. She was alone, looking tired, carrying a baby in a sling. She recognized me immediately. Her face showed surprise, then something like relief. "Vanessa," she said quietly. "I wasn't sure I'd ever see you again." I was polite but distant. "Hello, Brooke. Congratulations on the baby." She looked down at the sleeping infant. "Thank you. His name is Andrew."
She paused.
"Can we talk?" "Just for a minute." We sat at a small table in the bookstore cafe. Brooke ordered tea. I already had coffee. "Tyler and I separated 6 months ago," she said without preamble. "We're getting divorced." I didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry." She shook her head. "Don't be. It was the right decision." She looked at me carefully. "I need to tell you something. I need you to know that I understand now what happened. What they did to you." I waited. After the wedding, things got hard financially. Tyler kept making promises about money his father would help with. But Marcus never came through.
We fought constantly about it.
And one night, Tyler admitted everything. How you paid for everything for 15 years. How his father lied about it. How he treated you like you didn't matter. She wiped her eyes. He was ashamed. He wanted to reach out to you. But he didn't know how to apologize for something that big. So, he just kept hoping time would make it better. "It didn't need to get better," I said gently. "It just needed to end." Brooke nodded. "You were right to leave. They took advantage of your kindness." And when I saw the same pattern starting with me, Tyler expecting me to work full-time while he pursued risky career moves, Marcus expecting us to support him financially, I knew I had to get out too. She looked at me with something like admiration. You were brave. You set boundaries. You chose yourself. I'm trying to do the same thing now. We talked for another 20 minutes. She told me about her plans. She had moved back with her parents, temporarily. She was going back to school. She was building a life for herself and her son that didn't depend on men who made promises they couldn't keep. When we parted, she hugged me. "Thank you," she whispered, "for showing me it was possible to walk away." I watched her leave with her baby and felt a strange sense of closure. Not because she validated my choices, I didn't need validation, but because she had learned the lesson earlier than I did. She had escaped after 3 years, not 15. I never heard from Tyler again after that. No more emails. No more messages through friends. Just silence. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Marcus eventually remarried. A woman with her own money and her own house. Someone who wouldn't be easy to use. Tyler moved to another state for a job opportunity. He sent child support to Brooke, but they had no relationship beyond that. The family that had once seemed so solid, so bound by Tyler's late mother's memory and Marcus's provider narrative, had completely dissolved. And I had moved on so completely that the news barely registered. My life on the coast had become everything I needed. I had been promoted at the design firm. My paintings sold at a local gallery. I had friends who knew me for who I was now, not who I had been. I dated occasionally. Nothing serious. I wasn't looking for another marriage, but I enjoyed companionship without the weight of obligation. One evening, a man I had been seeing casually asked about my past. "You never talk about family," he said. "Are you close with them?" "I don't have family," I said simply. "Not in the traditional sense." That must be lonely. I thought about it. It used to be, but now it just feels free. He looked confused. So, I tried to explain. Family is supposed to mean people who love you unconditionally, who support you, who see you. But sometimes family becomes people who use you, who take without giving, who erase you while benefiting from you. When that happens, leaving isn't losing family. It's gaining yourself. He was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. That makes sense. It did make sense. Finally, after years of confusion and pain, and trying to understand why I was never enough, it finally made sense. I wasn't the problem. I was never the problem. The problem was trying to build a relationship with people who saw me as a resource instead of a person. If someone had told me on that night of Tyler's toast that 5 years later I would be completely happy, I wouldn't have believed them. In that moment, I felt crushed, humiliated, worthless. But that moment was also the beginning of my liberation, because it forced me to see the truth I had been avoiding for 15 years. I mattered. My contributions mattered. My feelings mattered. And if the people I was giving everything to couldn't see that, then they didn't deserve access to me anymore. The revenge story people want to hear is one where I destroyed them, where I humiliated them publicly, where I made them suffer the way I suffered. But that's not what happened. And honestly, it's better this way. Because my revenge wasn't about hurting them. It was about healing me. I didn't set out to ruin Marcus's business. I just stopped funding it. The business ruined itself by being unprofitable. I didn't set out to destroy Tyler's wedding. I just stopped paying for it. They had to face the reality of what they could actually afford. I didn't set out to break up their family. I just removed myself from the equation. They fell apart on their own. The most powerful revenge is living well. Building a life so good that you don't waste energy thinking about people who hurt you. I don't check Marcus's social media. I don't Google Tyler's name. I don't keep tabs on whether they're happy or struggling. Because it doesn't matter. They're not part of my story anymore. My story is about a woman who gave everything for 15 years and got nothing in return. Who was told to disappear. Who did exactly that, and discovered that disappearing from their lives meant appearing in her own. I'm not a cautionary tale about being too generous. I'm a success story about boundaries. I'm not a victim who was used. I'm a survivor who learned. I'm not bitter. I'm free. Tyler asked me to stop pretending.
So I did.
I stopped pretending that family meant accepting mistreatment. I stopped pretending that love required self-erasure. I stopped pretending that my value came from what I gave rather than who I was. And the moment I stopped pretending, my real life began. I'm sitting on my porch now, the same porch where I've spent 5 peaceful years. The sun is setting over the ocean. The sky is painted in oranges and purples. My coffee has gone cold, but I don't care. Tomorrow I'll wake up in my house, go to my job, spend time with my friends, work on my paintings. I'll make decisions that serve me. I'll build a life that reflects my values. I'll be free. And somewhere out there, Tyler and Marcus are living with the consequences of treating someone's generosity like it was an obligation. They're learning that people who give can also take away, not out of cruelty, but out of self-respect. The greatest gift I gave them was exactly what Tyler asked for that night. I disappeared. But the greatest gift I gave myself was finally understanding that I was never the one who needed to change.
They did.
And when they refused, I simply walked away. No drama. No revenge. Just boundaries. And that turned out to be the most powerful move of all.